I'm John Hinkle, the senior pastor of First Presbyterian Church in downtown Murfreesboro, and this is your Thursday devotion. Bobby's preaching Sunday, and so he'll do Saturday morning's preview of Sunday morning sermon, but which means you get to spend some time with me today. Now, as Bobby goes on sabbatical, I will typically do the Thursday devotion. Joyce will continue to do her her Tuesday devotion, and then when she's on vacation, I'll do both, and when I'm on vacation, she'll do both. So, but today, we're going to look at a story from the Gospel of Luke that's just I've been just kind of focused on and thinking about, and it's a familiar story for those who are familiar with the Gospel. It is chapter 7, and it starts at verse 36, and it's where Jesus is anointed by a sinful woman. So let me read the text. It's there's several verses here, but bear with me, and then we'll kind of walk through this story a little bit. When one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table, which was the custom of the day. A woman in town who had lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. As she stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. When the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who was touching him and what kind of woman she is. She's a sinner. Jesus answered him, Simon, I have something to tell you. Tell me, teacher, he said. 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed 500 denarii, and the other owed 50. Neither of them had money to pay him back, so he forgave the debts of both. Now, which of them would love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt that was forgiven. Then Jesus turned towards the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You didn't give me any water for my feet, but she wet my hair with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman, from the time I entered, hasn't stopped kissing my feet. You didn't put perfume or oil on my head, but she poured perfume all over my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her sins have been forgiven, as great as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven of little loves little. Then Jesus said to her, your sins are forgiven. The other guests began to say among themselves, who is this that he would even forgive sins? And Jesus said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Now, of course, what often we do in this text is we focus on the actions of the woman. That's why it's called Jesus anointed by a sinful woman. And we would all admit that the actions of this woman in some ways just go above and beyond what one would expect, right? I mean, clearly, she is emotional in her reaction and being in the presence of Jesus. And Jesus points this out. She said, the reason she is because her sins are forgiven, and clearly she has sinned. But one of the things I think we lose sight of is the lack of hospitality from the Pharisee. Because the woman shows so much gratitude towards Jesus, we lose sight of the fact that the Pharisee fails to even show basic hospitality to Jesus. Now, again, we don't live in first century Palestine, but what we need to recognize is that in the Middle Eastern culture, to deny someone basic hospitality when they entered your house would be a shameful act. But Jesus makes it clear. He says, starting in verse 44, he says to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house and you did not give me any water for my feet. You did not give me a kiss. You didn't put oil over my head. All of the 3 things Jesus mentioned, water for his feet, meaning cleaning his feet before he entered the house, a holy kiss, a sign of love and respect, And then last but not least, covering one with perfume. Now, again, in our culture, that may sound odd and strange, but in Jesus' culture, that was the norm. And the question is, why didn't the Pharisee show even the basic understanding of hospitality towards Jesus? Well, several people have tried to kind of wrap their arms around this, as you can imagine. Kenneth Bailey is the person I tend to go to in these matters. And what Ken Bailey says is that the Pharisees' actions of this lack of hospitality was to remind Jesus that even though I've invited you into my house, I really don't want you here. Even though I know I'm supposed to do certain things, I'm not going to do it. And what I think this text is kind of opening my eyes to is how quickly we allow outside agitations to interfere in the way we live out our lives, especially in matters of intentional hospitality. A perfect example of this is the other day I was going down Broad Street. I was minding my own business, and all of a sudden this car cuts me off. They went from the left lane to the right lane, and they just cut me off. Well, eventually I could kind of see ahead that there was a truck that was kind of slow, and I just immediately went over to the left lane. And all of a sudden that car, guess what it wanted to do? Get back into the left lane. Only I was there. And he couldn't get into the left lane unless I allowed him into the left lane. And trust me, there was a part of me that was not going to allow him to do it. But then I thought to myself, why would I show a lack of hospitality to this individual? Even though they were rude to me just a few seconds ago, why would I allow their actions to dictate my actions? That's the challenge I think we all face. As those who follow Jesus Christ, as those who've been called to look like Jesus Christ, act like Jesus Christ, sound like Jesus Christ, how quickly we allow the world to make us sound like the world and not like Jesus. So that's our challenge. It's always been our challenge. To be more like Jesus and less like the world. To be more like this woman who showed Jesus her love, and to be less like the Pharisee. I hope you have a great day. I hope this is a great Thursday, and I look forward to worshiping with you on Sunday. And I forgot my clicker, so I got to do this.